Hey, it's Drybear. With the advent of Season 1, a lot about the game has changed, so I wanted to do an updated and revisited list for the best place to farm all the important materials in the First Descendant. And of course, it being a Drybear video, I've got a handy-dandy reference sheet for you. This is all of the purple materials in the game and the best places, at least in my opinion, to find these. Now, there's going to be multiple locations for some of these, but what's great about this is since they made the Void Fusion reactors not cost any Void shards to activate and summon the mob, some of these farms got a lot better because you can just spam farm the reactor, getting the materials you need and finishing out. And of course, you'll find the link to the sheet down below in the comments and the description that you can have on a second monitor or on your phone if you wanted to look for these specific ones. Now, I left off the list the blue materials that are very easy to farm. Most of these either come from dismantling weapons, external components, or reactors, and you should have a bunch of them stored up as long as you're just dismantling things you don't need. Some of these come from specific zones, just in the munitions boxes or in the destruction boxes. And there are some optimized routes to go to these zones and farm these consistently, but I felt like the video would be too long if I tried to include the blue ones as well. So let me know down below if you'd like to see an optimal farming route for the blue materials. But in this video, we're going to focus on all of the hard to get, very required materials for most of the difficult researches in the game. First, let's talk about the far left side of the screen, the vault specific materials and the code breakers code analyzers. So the way this works is you will get these random drops of code analyzers, code breakers that have different rarities as you do certain missions. These specific ones drop from enemies that are of the champion level, which means that they have an orange name and they have some affixes associated with them. If you see them with a dome coming out of them or a green beam that's draining your HP, or they're silencing you or draining your mana, that means that they are the champion level, which means that you can kill them and they will have a chance to drop these code breakers. You need this as an entry into the vaults that you'll find throughout the world, and it's recommended using Enzo to open the vaults to get the loot that you need. And there's two main locations that I recommend farming for code breakers. They're actually quite close in the amount of code breakers that they drop. The one that's listed here is going to be Sterile Land Rockfall Anticipated Ambush Point. Which you go to Sterile Land Rockfall, it is this mission right here, and this one is at about 25 total code breakers every hour. They're random on which ones you get, what quality and what rarity that you'll get from them, but it's a great mission to do because there's a very high density of those champion level mobs that have the affixes that drop the code breakers, and personally it is my favorite mission for doing code breakers, and I think it is the highest code breaker drop in the entire game. And what I love about this mission is there's usually people here as well. It works great for Viessa or Valby or Bunny. It is a very quick clear, but you can see that a lot of these orange HP mobs are spawning in almost every single one of these areas, and you don't really require high levels of farm in order to get here to farm these either. And that is the mission that I recommend doing, but there is another option if you want more of a balanced farm, and that's going to be an Echo Swamp, the Echo Swamp farm, which come over here to the abandoned zone, and you do environment contamination zone. This one is close to the amount of code breakers. It's going to be probably 18 to 22 code breakers an hour, so not quite as dense as the Sterile Land Anticipated Ambush Point, but this one provides a lot more gold. So this one is actually one of the better gold farms in the entire game. So if you wanted something a little bit easier or maybe a little more balanced, it's not just code breakers, you get other things involved. The downside with this farm particularly is it is a lot harder to farm relative to the Anticipated Ambush Point. You will need a little bit of a stronger Bunny, and it's not going to be as efficient for a Valby or a Viessa or any other, sub-mobbing character. You pretty much just want to be Bunny at this specific spot in Echo Swamp, and you do need a little bit more gear, a little bit more modules, and a little bit more power and survivability because the mobs here hit harder. They have more elites at the end that you have to clear out, and so you're going to want to have either high voltage or electric condense to burn them down, but it will give you a lot of other drops. It gives you way more gold, just a lot less on the code breaker side. So you have a choice there. Then once you have the code breakers, I have listed here on the far left side of the screen all of the locations that you'll find for each of these materials. Energy residue, highly concentrated, comes from Hagios. Mixed comes from Ogna Desert. Pure comes from Fortress. The ion particle negative comes from sterile land. Conductive metallic foil comes from Vespers. Cooling metallic foil comes from White Knight. And thermal metallic foil comes from Echo Swamp. I'm not going to go through opening vaults and finding them because I think that's kind of been done to death, but at least if you have this here if you want to quick check a specific material. Now let's go to the other materials on the list here. These are all going to come from various locations, outposts, dungeons, reactors, all kinds of spots, and a couple of these you'll notice are on different difficulties as well. Some of these are going to be done on dungeons on normal difficulty rather than hard because you get a higher frequency of drops and it's a lot easier and more accessible. And keep in mind that some of these dungeons don't spawn the same elites based on the difficulty that you're selecting, so you'll want to be aware of that. So let's start with the Biogels, and I've listed them by their item types. They're easier and more organized, and then their modifier or their like unique name that goes along with it. Starting with the Crystal Biogels. This is actually going to be the easiest to farm at the White Knight Gulch Mountaintops Void Fusion Reactor on hard. So world map, White Knight Gulch, we come over here to Mountaintops, and all you have to do is run this Void Fusion Reactor on hard, and you just kill the mobs. You don't need to spend any void shards, just spawn them over and over and kill the mobs that are there. And it looks like this here, you're gonna get 2 elites that spawn from this every single time. One that spawns in front of the reactor and one that spawns up on the hill. If you have any weapon that's built, it doesn't really matter what character you're using, they have a ridiculously low amount of HP, so you can finish one off. They'll have a chance to drop the biogel that you're looking for, and then after a couple seconds, one will spawn on the top, and then you shot that one down, and he'll also drop it, and then you'll get that piece there. But depending on your luck, you can get anywhere from 5 to like possibly even up into the 20s every single time. Then you come down and clear this, and what I love about this one as well is because the second mob is up there, you don't get a cluttering of globes around the button. You can just keep hitting the button over and over. Inorganic, I like doing the outpost on hard in Vespers under the area Lumber Yard. So Lumber Yard is the very south of Vespers, and it's going to be this outpost here, and it's super quick to clear. And what's great about clearing this one as well is that you can also stealth it to get double the amount of Amorphous and a chance at the shape stabilizer. But this one's super small and very easy to clear. Kill the boss, destroy it, grab your loot, and reset, and still farm Amorphous at the same time. Next is the Macro Molecule Biogel, and there's 2 locations that are about the same for clear speed, but of the 2, I'm going to recommend Echo Swamp, Derelict, Covert, the outpost that's there. So actually both of these outposts, the one in Derelict Covert and the one in Muskhead Swamp, both drop these, and they're quite similar. This one is actually faster for stealth because it only has 3 generators and they're very close together, but I actually on average tend to get more from the Derelict Covert outpost, but it kind of becomes a personal preference thing based on where it is. I usually stand right there, clear this out, destroy the boss that spawns, then reset, but they're pretty close as far as clear speed and the amount of the biogels that you'll get. And lastly, we have the organic biogels, the green sponge, and I'm going to recommend Kingston Grand Square, hard, Kingston Surveillance Radar, which is a mission. So the Biogel Organic specifically has a couple options. You can also run with Magister Lab as an option, which is the #1 leveling spot for characters right now, and you will still get the Biogel Organics along the way. So if you don't really target farm these, you can probably just run the dungeon and get them done. And of these, they'll just drop from general Kingston missions, though my favorite for this is the Kingston Surveillance Radar, because it's very tight and compact and very quick to clear. Moving on to the Biometals. The first one is the Deformed Biometal, and I recommend doing the outpost in Fortress Frozen Valley right next to the polyatomic particle farm. It's super quick, and it also means that you can do both of those back to back, which is super efficient. So if you go Fortress into Frozen Valley, the best polyatomic farm is right here at Command Relay, and the best place for the Deformed Biometal is going to be here at the Frozen Valley Strategic Outpost. And entering Frozen Valley, you'll notice that the mission that gives you the polyatomic is listed here. It's right there. It's that mission. You just click on that node right there and do the mission, and the outpost is right next to it, which is almost perfect. So if you're not trying to specifically farm the biometal, you want just a lot of things, what I recommend doing is hitting the mission, doing the mission here, completing it all the way, then do the outpost, and then restart and go in a circle, and you'll get a nice mixture of basically everything. Next up is the artificial biometal that looks like honey. This one is going to be back to the original ambush point that we had for Codebreakers. This is the best spot I've found for farming these. Sterile Land, Rockfile, Anticipated Ambush Point. It's the same point we showed earlier for farming Codebreakers. Farm that for the elite, and you'll also get artificial biometal biometal from that as well. Next up is the specialized biometal, and this one is going to be another void fusion reactor, this time Hagios Dune based hard. So we go over to Hagios here, and we're going to go over to the Dune base, which is down at the bottom, and we're just going to clear out this void fusion reactor. And what's great about this one as well, just like the last void fusion reactor we covered, is it's going to spawn multiple elites that both have a chance at dropping the material you're looking for. So again, you don't need to consume the globe, you don't need to spend void shards. All you have to do is spawn the elite, destroy the elite, like take it down and make sure it's gone. Then a second one will spawn over there, and you'll be able to clear that on repeat to get rid of them. So you can see he's already spawned to my left over there. Very easy cleanup. So we have that one there, and then he has a chance to drop, which he did this time. And then we'll go ahead and clear out the elite tracker as well. And you can just do this on repeat until they're all gone, and just restart the reactor as well. Just make sure that if you're not consuming the globe for the extra pieces here, just go over here and make sure they die away from it so the globe doesn't stack up on the button. Then lastly, for the biometal, we have synthesized artificial biometal, and this one is going to come from a void fusion reactor in Ogna Desert under the region The Storage, which is at the very top of this list here. And this one is actually very popular because the 90 and 91 amorphous does help with a lot of very intense farms. So a lot of people end up having lots of amorphous for this, and the reactor that's next to it drops what we're looking for. And again, this one's great because it spawns 4 elites instead of just the 1, which means that every single one of the ones that drop have a chance to drop the material you're looking for. And you can also farm up the materials right to our right. But just go ahead and burn these guys down, get the next ones that spawn, the trackers that spawn afterwards, drop them. They'll all be dropping tons of this biometal over and over, and then you can just respawn. And again, just like the one that we saw in Vespers, you can very easily just kill these guys here away from the button. They'll spawn the globe, but if you're not consuming the amorphous material, you can just go ahead and leave them here, respawn a new one, and keep farming over and over. But again, just like the one in Frozen Valley, it is probably useful to do the outpost for a drop, then do this for the materials, and go back and forth since they are so close together. Moving on to carbon activators. The first one is carbon activator common, and for this one, what you want to do is clear the sepulcher on normal from Vespers, and you just want to kill the first elite and reset. On hard, the elite doesn't always spawn, and you can also full clear on hard as well. This is going to be slower for getting the carbon activators that you need. It's more efficient for specifically carbon activator common in order to actually get the material you want, but it actually is quite efficient if you just do it on hard and complete the entire dungeon all the way into the end. You will still get them from the very end of it, and you'll also get the amorphous as well. But if you just need common carbon activators, run it on normal. What's great about the normal version is it doesn't have this gate closed when you start Sepulcher. You can also just blow through all of this, but the place that the elite spawns on normal that drops the carbon activator is just here in the beginning. So you can just burn through all of these mobs, and then right at the bottom of these stairs here, this is going to be the elite. Go ahead and finish them off, and then you'll get the drop here for the carbon activator, and that's when you just go ahead and reset on normal. Next are the complex carbon activators, and for this one, we're going to head to Seed Vault on hard in Echo Swamp. Seed Vault just had its last encounter reworked in the Season 1 update. I'm not a huge fan of it because they spread it out with a whole bunch of snipers, but it's still pretty good for complex carbon activators, and personally is probably the best spot that you can get them. What's great about Seed Vault is there are going to be many segments of elites that you'll encounter. You want to kill the first 4 of them in Seed Vault and then reset, or you can finish it if you like to get the full rewards. But you're going to be running through and getting lots of these activators as you go along. There's going to be elite here, there's an elite down at the bottom, there's another elite. Kill the first 4 elites, and after that you can reset with having to do the final encounter, which did unfortunately get slower with the latest update. Next up are compound carbon activators, and this one is super confusing because the best spot, at least in my opinion, is to farm normal biolab. The reason we do normal is there is an elite that spawns at the repeater about like 30% through the dungeon that only spawns on normal. If you run the hard version of biolab, that elite no longer spawns, it will no longer be there, and it won't be there to drop the carbon activator. But again, you can complete the whole hard dungeon if you're doing more than just farming for compound carbon activators. It's also faster on normal because this first room that you run in is not a 2-sequenced, like 2-phase portion. You can blow through there, kill the mobs, and keep going to the next room. The elite you're looking for on normal is up by the repeater. So all you have to do is run through this room and go to the very top, and you will see an elite spawn right next to the repeater that will give you the loot that you're looking for. So once you get this elite down right here, this one will drop the material you're looking for, reset, and you can go back. However, this is kind of like towards the middle part of the dungeon, kind of towards the end. So if you wanted to run this on normal and you need the amorphous materials, you can just keep going after this and get it done just to get that there. But I found this to be the most consistent way to farm these because you'll get anywhere to like 8 8 to up into the double digits of the activator that you're looking for. Next up for the carbon activators is going to be the low carbon activator, and this used to be only farmable really at the outpost in Kingston, but since they did the rework to the Void Fusion Reactor, I think it's even better to farm the Kingston Grand Square Void Fusion Reactor. So if you're looking at Kingston map, the place that we used to farm these, the low carbon activators, is actually here, the Fallen Theater strategic outpost. This one will drop the low carbon activators like 18 to 23 every single time, but you have to wait for the outpost to drop. So if you are farming pattern 54 or pattern 55, it might be worth it to farm them here. However, since the change, we can now go to Grand Square and do the Void Reactor on this side, on the east side of this area. And this one, just like the other ones we've covered, have multiple elites that spawn, and each elite can actually spawn and give you the material you're looking for. And these are super useful, super efficient for this because you can get multiple drops every single time. And again, if you don't have the void shards or any like materials that you can use on these, you can just kind of drop them down, get the material you're looking for, clear them out, respawn, and click the button. And again, I like this one because the spawn of the elites in this are not on top of the button. So you'll see the globes spawn on the hill over here. You don't even have to take them if you don't want to. You just hit the button again and you can keep farming more activators. Moving on to the plasma batteries, there's 4 types of these, and the first one is the purple battery, the balanced battery, and here we're going to run hard quarantine zone in Fortress, and what you want to do is work your way to the large circular spherical room, finish the stand in place there, an elite will spawn, kill the elite, take the plasma batteries, and reset. Now for this one, you actually have an option of running normal or hard for quarantine zone. You get a little bit less for normal, but it's much more consistent. However, I personally like running quarantine zone on hard because you get a little bit more opportunity, and you can also just finish it. This is the one that drops the new Transcendent mod for Luna if you haven't farmed it yet. The amorphs are useful from this as well, and it will take, on average, slightly longer than normal, but I think it is worth doing. If you do decide to do it on normal, you're just going to kind of come to this area here, and you'll be able to clear the elite that spawns at this portion of the fight. However, on normal, you will have a longer segment at this door that usually will skip. The reason I like running on hard is this is a little bit faster here. You do get chances at code breakers, as well as some of the orange residues, which are useful. This part goes faster, and then what you'll want to do on the hard version, so normal, we would come down here, we'd clear this and be done, reset, get that there. If you're doing the hard version, which is slightly less of the material you're looking for, but it is a little bit easier to clear, and you'll also get more materials overall. For the hard version, you want to come to this room here, which is the global spherical room I was talking about. Come in here, trigger the event, and finish the event by just doing whatever farm you're doing. But again, you can see there's a bunch of these orange champion mobs all along in hard, which gives you code breakers. You get other like residues and things like that on the hard version. You go a little bit further than the normal version, but then you want to come to this room, finish off the elite that's here, and this is what's going to drop the material that you need. Once you get this in this spherical room, you have your batteries, you can reset and start again. And again, you can finish on hard to get the amorphous materials if you're looking for that as well. Next is the yellow batteries, the divided plasma batteries, and for this, we're going to run Ogna Desert, the Asylum on normal, get to the first elite, kill it, and reset. In this case, you just want to come to this very first room on normal, kill the elite that spawns on the rock, and then you've got your material to drop. Next is the orange batteries, the Fusion Plasma Battery, and these will be found in Sterile Land Rockfall. There is a new Void Fusion Reactor encounter that's super easy for this. So come to the west side of Sterile Land, go to Rockfall, and clear this reactor here. Again, I love this one because it will spawn 2 elites. You activate it, you kill 1 elite, you kill the elite up there, you've got your drop, and you can very easily reset it, and you'll usually find people farming this as well. Next is the same farm we've always done for the heat plasma batteries, the red batteries, and we're going to head over to Hagios Old Mystery on hard. What you want to do is come to this room right here in Old Mystery. This actually used to be an encounter where you had to activate something in the middle and then stand on the Kuiper mining parts. They removed that and just made it an elimination mission, so the elites will just continuously spawn. You should get just over 50 of the heat batteries every single run, and the elites now with the elimination setting just keep spawning over and over, and we're even getting champion level mobs as well as part of this, which can very easily give you as much loot as you possibly need. As soon as you finish the elimination portion and you have a marker here at the door that tells you to go to the next room, then you're safe to reset and start the mission over again. You have all the batteries you're going to get. Or I should say all the batteries that are the most efficient. There are a couple elites after this room that will still give you batteries, and again, you can finish the whole run to get the amorphous it's at the end if you're looking for it, but the most efficient is going to be clearing this room and resetting the dungeon. Next are the neural circuits, or the red, blue, and green brains. These you will have to farm a lot because they're for some of the most common recipes in the game. So we'll start with the blue brains, the advanced neural circuits. There are many places to farm this, but my personal favorite is going to be the instant reset at White Knight Gold Shipment Base. You go to Fortress Courtyard on hard. As soon as you start the mission, an elite will spawn. You kill the elite, collect your brain, and reset it instantly and kill it again. You can farm a ton of brains this way. So we come here to White Knight Gold Shipment Base on the north side, and we go all the way over to Fortress Courtyard, this mission here. So the mission we're looking for is this one here, the Fortress Courtyard. Now, one thing to notice about this mission, as soon as you start it, an elite will spawn on the far platform over there. It spawns almost immediately within the first opening second, so now the elite just spawned. You have two options. You can either just run past all these mobs and go kill the elite on the far side, collect your brain, reset, and especially if you're solo and you're like by yourself here, you can very easily kill it, get your brains, hit escape, and hit abort mission to reset. However, if you're private or you're with a group, another option that people do is they'll come up, they'll spawn the elite, and then from this distance, when the elite spawns, they'll snipe it from here, and the brains are supposed to last a couple minutes before they disappear. I don't trust that. I like to run over there and grab it and reset, but if you're with a group, you can have someone sit here, hit the mission, kill the elite with a sniper rifle, hit the mission, and you can just keep resetting and doing that, piling up as many brains as you want. Next up is the green brains, the data processing neural circuits, and personally my opinion here is that we go to Vesper's Lumberyard on hard and complete the frontline base. So if we go to Vesper's Lumberyard in the south, we have frontline base, which is a very fast mission to complete here. Now the great thing about the brains is they have multiple locations to farm from, so you can choose from many spots. This is the one that I prefer, as I just run this mission over and over, and you get a good amount of green brains coming from this. Now to get the brains, you will have to do the full 3-part segment of the mission. You'll spawn the mission here, you'll come to this platform, clear this out, then you'll go over to that platform, clear that out, and you'll come back here and clear this out. The last part of the mission, which is like a minute and a half in, you will get the brains drop. But the reason why I like this is it has a ton of champion mobs, and it also has a lot of drops for the conductive foil, which is really nice. You'll get some vault materials as part of this process, and the mission is very easy to complete, especially for a bunny. Next up are the red brains, the encrypted neural circuit, and these ones are, you have a couple options to clean these out. The one I'm going to recommend is the typical swamp bunny farm that we talked about earlier for code breakers, and that is going to be in Echo Swamp Abandoned Zone, Hard Environment Contamination Zone. So in Echo Swamp on the far right side, you have the Environment Contamination Zone, and the reason I'm recommending this is because it gives such a ridiculous amount of gold. Again, this is one of the best gold farms in the game right now. It does also give code breakers, it gives vault materials, it gives tons of other things that are really useful. However, I will recommend an alternate option if you are someone who isn't strong enough yet to complete the bunny farm, or you don't want to try and join a public group to get the bunny farm done in Echo Swamp. You can also do the Abandoned Zone, which is a very easy mission, which has a couple elites in it, which you can clear for the red brain drops. But again, I recommend just clearing the bunny farm, as it's going to give you the most amount of bang for your buck. Next up are the remaining ion particles that we didn't cover from the vaults. And unfortunately, the first one, the anode ion particle, I personally think is the worst one to farm on this entire list, and it actually got worse with the Season 1 update. The one that I recommend for this is going to be Hagios Forward Base, Hard Broadband Fleet Beacon, but there's a couple other options, and they're all pretty abysmal. So in Hagios, you can run inside of Forward Base, the Broadband Fleet Beacon. I think this one is a little bit more enjoyable to run. The other option, the one that I've been doing for a long time as well, is in Fractured Monolith. You can run Large Supply Transport Point. This is an incredibly long mission, and they also updated it with the update in Season 1 to make it an elimination, but it still takes a crazy amount of time. The spawn rates are incredibly slow, and sometimes you get no drops of the anodes, and even when you do get the drops, sometimes there's only 1 or 2 that drop. It is very, very slow, and unfortunately for some of the researches in the game, you need like upwards of 200 of them to finish the research, so this is easily the worst one that you can farm on the list. However, luckily, the next one on the list is very easy to farm, and that is the polyatomic ion particle. This one is actually the Haley reactor farm for the week, this week, but it is Fortress Frozen Valley. You want to do hard command relay. And this is one we talked about earlier. We know that the outpost is a great source of amorphous materials and resources for us, but the command relay is this one here. You can activate it and clear this out. You can either do this as a main farm. You can see it's popping right now because the Haley reactor drops here this week, but if you could activate this and you could run this as a full run and do all the elites inside of it and clear it out, and it's very easy, a lot of good resources resources, it's good for polyatomic. However, if you are very serious of trying to get the most amount of polyatomic ion particles as possible, I recommend resetting your area to private, because you're going to be doing a lot of disruptive resetting. Come over here to the relay, activate it, and all you want to do is clear the relay until the first elite spawns, and then reset the mission and start over. It is much faster because the final boss takes a lot longer. The first elite spawns very fast. You just have to do 1 or 2 loops around this. The elite spawns, kill the elite, you'll get, you know, upwards of 13, 14 polyatomic particles, and then you can reset the mission and start again. But do this one on normal, because this is a very popular mission, and you can't expect other people to be resetting it if that's what you're looking to do. See, the elite has already spawned. I can now kill off the elite, and then the polyatomic will drop, and I'll get that material, and then I can start over again. It is very, very rapid here, but do this one on private as well. You can also reset this as well on normal. You do get less overall, but it does it's less per drop on normal, but it does drop every single time. So you can kind of figure out, I like it better on hard in this case, because you get a little bit more of other stuff, but you can run it on normal as well. And this is the fastest farm that I found for polyatomic, is just to run this mission, clear the first elite, reset, and do it again. And lastly is the ion particle, positive ion particle. And this one is super easy to farm. You head over to Ogna Desert Mirage Stone and run the event Commanding Ground. And just like Command Relay, it is a stand-and fight fest with lots of elites. You just keep killing them until you get the amount of particles that you need. You'll start the mission right here in Ogna Desert, and then you can just head over to the area on the far side over here. And again, it is just a stand your ground, ground and pound, with lots of elites spawning over and over, which is a really easy way to get particles. Next are the energy residue of murky type. So murky energy residue. This one is super fast, but just like a few of the others on the list here, I'm gonna recommend running this on sterile lands, normal for God Tents. If you run this on hard, the elite won't spawn in the same spot. It'll be much later in the mission, but this one is incredibly fast. All you have to do is kill the first elite, run through that room, get the elite done, grab your energy residue, and reset the dungeon, and you're good to go. The spot you're looking for inside of this dungeon is you run past, you don't even have to kill these mobs. Run past all these mobs, go into this main room, and you'll see the elite right down here on the platform. You just want to kill this elite tracker. You will drop it almost every single time. On normal, it's super fast. Some of the missions before this are super fast. So on normal, kill this elite, grab your murky residue, and then reset it, and you start again. And lastly, the metallic foil, the insulated metallic foil, the silver foil. The best spot for this now, especially with the increase to the value of Magister Lab, is just run Kingston Hard Magister Lab. Since it's one of the best XP farms in the game, you'll get tons of these by leveling up your characters. We still don't have a great solution for weapon proficiency XP, but for character-specific XP, this was one of the best in the game, and it's super fast and easy to clear. So for this, you can either clear the full thing and get metallic foil insulated along the way, either insulated metallic foil, you'll get this along the way, or if you want to, you can clear the round room and reset. It's the first that's room with this, the stand in place encounter. Finish that off, reset, and do it again on hard if you really want to farm the insulated metallic foils, or just run it and get XP, get the amorphous at the end, do it in a group, and you're good to go. Okay, so that is the whole list of all the most important farms in the entire game, and my personal preference for this. There's going to be multiple spots to farm a lot of these in the game, so if you have something that's different from my list, leave it down below in the comments so other people might use that as an alternate option for their farm if they enjoy it more. And of course, let me know if there's anything that needs to be changed or updated. I'll keep this updated. You might find that the image in the video is not as current as the one that I have down below in the comments in the description, so use that as reference there. And if you found value in the video, leave a like, because usually these take a little bit extra work compared to the normal videos, but I hope you can use this on your second monitor or your phone so that you don't have to keep opening the access info menu, which we know is very slow. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.